Hey everyone, Justin here, back again with another video, and today I'm going to be going through every single deleted scene from our fan film Spider-Man Dimension Rift. Now, I actually uploaded a deleted scene last year where it was a scene where Peter was hanging his Spider-Man suit on the washing line, but the reason why that got deleted is because it felt a little bit unnecessary, and in the scene it starts off with like the camera panning to the Snortle variant's portal, and then it cuts to Peter arriving home to see Aunt May, and it might have confused the audience to think that since the camera was going towards the portal, it might have made the audience think that it was changing to a different universe of Peter. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why it was cut. And another reason was just because it made the start of the movie feel a little bit too slow, and I wanted the pace to pick up a little bit earlier, so yeah. But today I'm going through every single other deleted clip and alternative clip and extra clips that are all deleted and removed from the final cut. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Now, the first one on the list is kind of similar to the clip that I showed last year, except this was actually for the opening scene of the film. And instead of the Scarlet Spider versus Snortle variant fight at the very beginning of the movie, the film was originally going to have a nice slow open where it was just going to open with Peter's Spider-Man suit hanging on the washing line, and then it was going to cut to the scene of Aunt May and Peter watching Royd news about Snortle turning into a good guy, just like in Stealth Mission, like that whole reshot scene. That was changed because I wanted the start of the movie to be a cold open, to be action packed, to set the stakes, and I didn't want it to feel like slow, so yeah. But other than that, here's the full edited clip with just those extra scenes in there, and this was originally going to be the opening of the film.
For Royd News. It has been a very surprising day today. It has been reported that Spider-Man and the masked criminal have made peace with each other. Spider-Man handed the thermal reactor over to the criminal, and Spider-Man has gotten the serum.
Okay, so we're going in chronological order here throughout the film. Now, all of these weren't filmed in story order, but I'm going through story order to present these clips. So the next one on the list takes place after the scene where Peter leaves those civilians, and the scene where they're holding their phones up and looking up at the portal in the sky. So, as you know, there's a scene where one of the civilians says,
"You know who saved me once? We're like best friends."
And that's the same civilian from Spider-Man Preliminary where Peter saves him from the bullies. But after that scene, the scene just cuts straight to Peter sliding onto the veranda and running inside the house to see what's going on, and he sees Chameleon on the floor. I said something. What's going on here?
Him.
Now, originally there was going to be an alternate version of this scene where Peter was going to land into the shot and he was going to see Chameleon's car outside of the house, and he was going to realise, oh no, Chameleon's back. And then he was going to run and slide across the veranda and run inside to the house. But that was cut because I think with the comedic timing of the civilian saying, oh, me and Spider-Man are best friends, it worked a bit better to just cut straight to Peter sliding into the veranda and running inside the house. So it was either going to be those two scenes merged together, or it was just going to be the scene of Peter landing in, seeing the car and running inside. So here's that clip edited together. I'm really sorry, guys. I have to go.
You know who saved me once? We're like best friends.
I said something. What's going on here?
Him.
Okay, so the next one on the list isn't really a deleted scene, it's more just like an alternate version of a clip that was changed in the final cut of the film. So the scene where Peter is talking to Phil Coulson in Phil's car, obviously there's the part where they hear the super speed sound and Peter gets out of the car and goes to investigate, and it's revealed to be Slide.
Hope we get some answers soon.
What the hell was that? I have no idea. I'm not sure what that was, but I'm definitely not sensing anything positive.
Hey, Spidey.
You too? Now, in the original version, Peter was going to get out of the car and then run around to the front of Phil's car and then turn around and see Slide. But in the actual version in the film, he walks around the back of the car and sees Slide. Now, it's kind of funny that in the original version, he gets out of the car and he looks in the direction where Slide actually is going to be, and then he turns around and goes around the front of the car instead, which doesn't really make any sense. And also, that version of the shot just lingers on a little bit too long, so it was just changed. So I don't have an edited version of that scene because it's just one little clip. So yeah, here's that clip.
Action.
Now next on the list we have another alternate clip where it's not like a full scene, it's just an alternate version of a clip that was changed later, and it's in the scene in the backyard fight where Peter versus Chameleon and Slide, and Peter goes into his full ultra focus scent mode and he's looking around and the colour goes to like a black and white tone and he's looking around, and when the camera pans to in front of him you can see Slide behind him, and Slide speeds up to him and gives him an uppercut to the jaw and he goes flying, hits the bench and then lands onto the ground. Gosh, what is your obsession with testing my power? Now in the original version it was just going to be Slide speeding towards Peter from behind and then he just bumps his shoulder and then Peter just falls to the ground. But that was changed to the uppercut because in the Peter and Slide fight at the start of the movie we already see a lot of the same thing of Slide bumping into Peter's shoulder, and that kind of happens in preliminary as well. So yeah, it was a little more intense for just that uppercut, for where Slide just gives Spidey a big punch and he just flies up into the air and falls to the ground. So yeah, here's that clip. Right, next we have another deleted clip. This one's not like an alternate clip, it's just a deleted clip in general. It's not a full deleted scene, so this one isn't like edited together or anything, but this one takes place during the end of the backyard fight where Aunt May's there and Chameleon's pointing the gun up at her and Peter tells her to quickly run away while Peter takes on the villains. There's a part during that fight where the camera pans behind like Slide and Chameleon and Aunt May is all of a sudden behind them with a shovel, and then she whacks Chameleon's helmet with the shovel and it just makes like a ding sound and it doesn't really do anything. Get inside and lock the doors. But originally, during the fight, like in the middle, it was going to cut to a shot of Aunt May running over to the shovel, picking it up, and then running out of the frame. And the reason why that was cut is because when she goes over to grab the shovel, she runs back in the direction that she just ran from to run away from the villains. So when it cuts back to that scene, she's all of a sudden behind Chameleon, which doesn't really make any sense. So I think it ended up working a little bit better when Peter's in the middle of fighting them. The camera just pans behind the villains, and then Aunt May just like appears behind Chameleon with the shovel, and it's like, come on Aunt May, get him. And yeah, I think it just works better without that clip of her grabbing the shovel, because it kind of cuts away from the action as well of Peter fighting the villains. But yeah, here's that deleted clip. Action. Now the next one is sort of a big one actually. This is like a full deleted scene kind of. It's not really like a whole different scene. It's kind of like an alternate version of a scene that already exists in the film, and it's the part where Joseph goes to Chameleon's lair to find the handcuffs. Now the difference between this alternate version of the scene and the version that's in the film is that one's more story driven and another one is more filmmaking driven. And what I mean when I say that is that one version of it makes more sense from just like a filmmaking standpoint of like how the camera work's done and how it sort of displays Joseph's characterization a little bit, and the other version kind of works better for the plot and the story of the handcuffs themselves. So the scene I'm talking about is when Joseph actually finds the handcuffs. And in that scene, he's looking around and then he doesn't find them and he gets a little bit fed up. So he's just walking around and he sees a bucket and he kicks it and the handcuffs just fly out and they land onto the ground. And Joseph says, "Look at that." But the original version of that scene is Joseph was looking around and he just like looks around after he couldn't find them for a while, and then he just looks around and he sees the forklift, and that forklift is the same forklift that Peter was actually tied to in Spider-Man Preliminary when he was handcuffed to it. And in that scene in Preliminary, when Joseph comes to rescue Peter, he rescues him from the handcuffs from that same forklift that Peter was sitting at. So it would only make sense for Joseph to see that forklift and think, that's the same forklift that Peter was tied to when I found him in Chameleon's lair last time. So he goes over to it and he sees like this sack hanging from it, and he pulls it off and the handcuffs are dangling from the forklift. So that's where Chameleon would have put them after Peter escaped. But the reason why it was changed to the version where he just sees that bucket on the ground and he just kicks it out of frustration after not finding the handcuffs is because Marcus, the guy that actually plays Joseph, suggested that for the scene instead. And I thought it was a really cool version of the scene, and I think it worked kind of better for a filmmaking standpoint because it kind of flowed better. Sort of like how that whole scene in general just cuts away from the fighting, and it has sort of like a comic relief aspect to it with the music and all that sort of stuff. So when he just gets frustrated at the end and then finds the handcuffs magically in the bucket, it kind of makes it up for the comedic effect and the comic relief of the scene, and I actually really like that a lot. But yeah, here is the alternate version of that scene where he finds the handcuffs. Now this one's just a really quick one on the list. This is just a deleted clip. It's just like one clip, one scene, and it was just cut because it felt kind of unnecessary, and it also wouldn't have worked as well for the final product. And it's the part where Peter, fake Peter disguised chameleon, comes to see if Joseph is okay, and Joseph is in the lair, and he's just found the handcuffs, and Peter opens the door, and Joseph gets startled by the sound of the big door opening. Hey, you okay?
Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I'm okay, it's just... There was just a deleted clip where it actually just shows Peter from the outside opening the door, but the reason why it was cut is because in the actual scene, after Peter arrives to the lair, it just shows Joseph inside with the little bag that he has, and he's just like patting it, and he's like, yep, found the handcuffs, and then he just gets startled by the sound of the big lair door opening, and then it just shows Peter from the outside coming inside of the lair, and it just works better from a filmmaking standpoint. And yeah, here's that deleted clip. Now the next one is actually an interesting one, because this was a clip that was filmed all the way back in 2022, believe it or not.
Whoa, that's crazy.
That was before we even started filming Dimension Rift, and the reason why it was filmed in 2022 is because it was filmed right after we finished filming the Spider-Man Christmas special, which we did in December of 2022. And basically what was going to happen is that the time period that Dimension Rift is set in is actually just after Christmas time, just like a few days after Christmas, like 2 or 3 days after Christmas Day. And basically what was going to happen is that the Christmas tree was still going to be set up when Peter and Joseph arrived home after that big scene at the lair with him, Joseph, and the villains, and Peter just like patches Joseph up after he gets shot and stuff. So after they arrive home, what was going to happen is that Peter was going to go up to the Christmas tree, and if you know, in the Christmas special, Peter made like these little ornaments of the villains that he's fought over time, and he put them on the Christmas tree just as a fun little gimmick for Christmas. And considering right after that scene, Chameleon just shot Joseph in that scene, and Peter was going to go over to the Christmas tree and take off the chameleon ornament and just rip it in half, just out of anger after what happened to Joseph, after what Chameleon did to him. But there's a few reasons why that was cut, because originally there was going to be a scene where Aunt May and Peter sit on the couch during that scene and have like a chat about responsibility. We didn't film that because it didn't really flow well with the scene where Peter is patching up Joseph and getting his suit ready and is about to talk to Scarlet Spider, which is patiently waiting for him in his room. And basically Peter was going to go over to the Christmas tree, take off the chameleon ornament and rip it in half out of anger. And another reason why it was cut is just because it just kind of felt maybe a little bit cheesy, a little bit unnecessary. Not only that, but since we filmed it in 2022, in the scene I'm wearing like the full glove of the red and blue suit, but in that scene where Peter and Joseph arrive home, Peter only has the black fingerless gloves on because his suit kind of gets like dismantled throughout the film. So if that clip was in there, it wouldn't have had any continuity with how Peter's suit ends up during the film. So yeah, there's a few like reasons in there. It's a little bit complicated, but here's that deleted sequence just edited together, just if you guys are curious.
Because if you do, I will kill everyone you love right in front of you. No exceptions.
Okay, so the next clip on the list is just one singular clip. It's not like a full deleted scene or anything. It's one singular clip, but it's actually kind of important to the story, funnily enough. So this deleted clip takes place in the middle of the final standoff between Peter and Chameleon in the final battle. And during the scene where Chameleon is absolutely just punching Peter in the face over and over and over again, there was going to be a scene during that where Chameleon says, "If you don't join me, maybe I'll make the other spider join me, or maybe I'll just kill you." Now, the reason why that's kind of important is because Chameleon is saying to Peter, "If you don't join me, I'll make the other spider join me, Scarlet Spider." And if you guys remember in the film, Scarlet Spider explains to Peter that in his timeline, in his universe, Chameleon actually used DNA to disguise as people instead of tech, and then eventually learned how to clone a whole person. And the Chameleon in that universe found that Peter was just refusing to join Chameleon over and over and over again because the same events were playing out. So instead, he decided to clone Peter, which eventually turned into Ben Reilly, and he thought that, okay, Peter, if you're not going to join me, I'll make this clone of you join me instead because it's going to obey my orders. And that obviously didn't happen. And then in this deleted clip, Chameleon says, "Okay, if you don't join me, I'll make the other spider join me." So it's like the same events are occurring like in Ben Reilly's universe, but it's just a little bit different and it happens differently in the timeline. But the chameleons in both universes have like the same motive and same ideas of what they're going to do. And Chameleon even says, "Or maybe I'll just kill you," which would explain why Chameleon is literally trying to kill Peter in the final battle, which he wasn't trying to do earlier on in the film because he was trying to recruit Peter to his team. But now he is actually trying to kill Peter because he's just so fed up with him refusing that he's like, "Okay, I'll kill you and I'll get Scarlet Spider to join me instead." Exactly what Scarlet Spider's version of Chameleon was doing as well. So yeah, it's not a full deleted sequence, it's just a small clip, but it was deleted because it didn't really flow well in the middle of the fight. It kind of just cut away from the intensity of all the punching and the kicking and the webs, and yeah, I wish we could have found a way for it to fit in well, but you know, some things just get cut for a reason. But here's the clip. One, action.
If you don't join me, I'll make the other spider join me, or I'll just kill you.
Okay, now the last clip on the list is not like an edited sequence or anything. It's just one clip, which actually kind of gives people a little bit more context to a scene in the film, but it was cut for a reason. And it's in the scene where Joseph and Peter are saying goodbye to each other. And at the end of that scene, Joseph just walks out, like he walks away from Peter and just walks up the road. Like he's just walking out in the middle of nowhere, and Peter's just standing there watching. Now, out of context, it kind of sounds funny. And originally there was a clip where Joseph was actually going to tell Peter that his parents are waiting up the road in the car for him. They were waiting for him in the car so they could pick Joseph up and take him. And the reason why that clip was deleted is because the audio in the background was really interfering with the scene, and when it was edited together it didn't really sound the best, and the voices were a little bit low. It wasn't like hard to hear, but it just didn't sound great, and the actor for Joseph wasn't available to do any like voiceovers or anything like that because we already like wrapped the shooting and everything, so it was kind of too late. So I just ended up cutting it from the final product, and you wouldn't even have known anyway, but now you do. Yeah, it gives a little bit more context as to why Joseph just walks up the road instead, because his parents are waiting for him, and that was originally in that clip. So yeah, here's that clip.
My parents are up the road in their car waiting, so I have to go. I hope to see you again one day. Alright? Goodbye.
Okay guys, now that is it for all of the deleted clips and deleted scenes. Now obviously, as I mentioned at the start of the video, there was one full sequence that was edited together and was actually in the final product at some point, but was later deleted from the film because it felt too slow at the start of the movie. So that clip has been uploaded to the channel last year if you haven't seen it already, so yeah, I suggest you check it out. But other than that, that's every single clip and sequence that has been removed from the film. Let me know what your favorite deleted clip was from the movie. And yeah, I think this is the end of the Dimension Rift content era, to be honest. I can't really think of any more videos that are going to be related to Spider-Man Dimension Rift, because we had the whole era of the videos building up to the film and building the hype of it, and now we were in the era of all of the videos that come out after the movie, like the bloopers and the behind the scenes and the suit making video, and now this deleted scene video. And I think that's it for all of the Dimension Rift videos on this channel. I mean, I don't know, there might be more in the future, but as far as I'm concerned at the moment, I think that's it for the Dimension Rift era on the channel. Not the end of the Spider-Man era, but just the Dimension Rift era. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed all of these deleted scenes and clips. Let me know which one was your favourite, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.